and hot days. And I thank God that because of His perfect timing, my daughter Em and I were able to meet and have a couple of days together, and she can help answer some of your questions. Because she's been hanging around with me a long time. She's the one that told me she was going to grow up in a minute when she was 5. Well, she grew up, but not in a minute. What I'd like to do for this class is I'd like to begin by going through some of the symptoms of people having a hormonal imbalance. So often people say, well, what's the symptoms of a hormonal imbalance? And I don't know if you say this here in America, but we have a saying in Australia, how long is a piece of string? Yeah? A piece of string can be an inch long and it can be 10 foot long. In other words, there's a whole variety of symptoms. In fact, some programs we might have 15 guests and they're all women and every single one of them has a hormonal imbalance, but the symptoms are different in every single case. I often think that my lectures are like a mirror, and you look in the mirror and you probably find this, that sometimes light bulbs go off, or sometimes there's a big tick, or sometimes there's a nudge. That's what's happening with me. So some of the symptoms, and probably the first symptom would be a child getting a periods at a very young age. Normal is 16 to 18 and we hardly ever hear of that today. We're getting girls getting their periods at 8 and 9 years of age. That's a little bit scary, because what's a girl thinking about at 13, 14 if she's getting her periods at 9? What you don't want her to be thinking about until she's marrying age. Also, another symptom of a hormonal imbalance can be very heavy periods, very painful periods. And heavy and painful periods can indicate conditions like endometriosis, fibroids in the uterus, cysts in the ovaries. Also, premenstrual tension. I've got some good news, it's not normal. That's good news for men and women, isn't it? And how many people think it's normal? It's not normal. And tonight you're going to find out how you can bring the balance back in the hormones so that that is not happening. But leading on from premenstrual tension can be anxiety, can be insomnia, and the last lecture today we're going to be looking at insomnia, but also depression. A hormonal imbalance can result in thyroid problems. It can result in cysts on the breast. So you can see there's a huge amount, even breast cancer, ovarian cancer. What about a male? A man can have a hormonal imbalance too, and an imbalance of hormones in a man can result in low sperm count, inability to hold an erection, called penile dysfunction, prostate problems, and also too much of the female hormone can cause a man to be effeminate, and too much of the male hormone can cause a woman to be masculine, and there's a lot of that happening today, isn't there? Yes. You're almost not allowed to talk about it in Australia, but I'm just giving you the science. So as you can see, we're touching on some fairly touchy subjects here. So I'd like to ask the great God of heaven to teach us today. Father in heaven, we come before you at the beginning of our day's classes, and we ask that you please come close to us, that you will teach us, give us understanding, give me utterance on these incredible functions of the human body. And we pray this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you through the process of how the hormones are made. And again, one of my favourite proverbs, Proverbs 14 verse 6, knowledge is easy to him that understands. So I'd like to give you an understanding so you automatically have the knowledge on how we can bring balance back. And you might be surprised at the first word that I write up here. Cholesterol. What's cholesterol got to do with hormones? Well, that's what our hormones are made from. I have 5 books in my library at home. The Great Cholesterol Con, The Great Cholesterol Deception, The Great Cholesterol Hoax, The Great Cholesterol Myth, The Great Cholesterol Lie. We're running out of names. Because cholesterol doesn't actually cause heart disease. What causes heart disease? Damage to the arterial walls that demands cholesterol to plug up the holes. So what's causing damage to the arterial walls? Well, in her book, Put Your Heart in Your Mouth, Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, well, she had to call it that because we're running out of names. And the first 4 chapters of her book, she lists all the environmental poisons that are contributing to the damage in the arteries. And we've touched on this a little bit already. We're exposed to so many environmental poisons today, and some of them we don't even know. It was probably a surprise to you to discover that polyester, acrylic and nylon are fabrics that were created in a chemical laboratory. And when they're touching our skin, guess what? It's going in. Cholesterol is what our hormones are made from. And if our cholesterol levels go too low, then it's going to interfere with the making of our hormones. So what's too low? We really should not go under 200. Would you like me to repeat that?
Wow.
Yeah.
We should not go under 200. You get down to 150, then the person can start having mental problems because the fattiest organ in our body is the brain. In fact, I was talking to in Maryland last year, a pathologist. She said, I do all the testing. She said, I've been doing this for 40 years. She said, we consider, and used to consider, it's changed, used to consider a cholesterol reading of 350 perfectly fine. Did you get that?
Yes.
350, wow. Who's the doctor here? We are.
Yes.
We're the doctor. And the Framingham Heart Study showed that people with high cholesterol levels don't get Alzheimer's. And you know why? Because the brain's the fattiest organ in the body and it loves that. From cholesterol, our body makes pregnenolone. And from pregnenolone, another hormone is made. And it's a very important hormone for men and women. And this pathway is in men and women. This hormone is called progesterone. And the reason I call it a very important hormone, progesterone is called mother hormone. And isn't mother a very important part of the family, a very important part of the house? And the reason progesterone is called mother hormone, because it's from progesterone that estrogen is made, and we call estrogen the daughter. And it's from progesterone that testosterone is made, and testosterone we call the son. So testosterone, we call it the male hormone, so that's the son, but also from progesterone, our adrenal hormones are made. They're your fight and flight hormones. In a man, number 1 hormone is progesterone, then testosterone, then estrogen. But in a woman, it should be number 1 hormone, progesterone, number 2 estrogen, number 3 testosterone. So men and women have the same hormones, it's just the amounts that they are in. And I'm going to show you how these hormones work in the monthly cycle. It's a 28-day cycle. And day 1 of the cycle is the day that a woman begins to menstruate. So let's have a look at the hormones that are playing a role in this monthly cycle. So estrogen is playing a role in the monthly cycle, and in the monthly cycle, estrogen is going to be red. And estrogen's role in the body, one of its main roles, is that of a cell proliferator. It's important to understand this role as we go through this class. It is estrogen that causes the skinny young girl to develop into a beautiful, shapely woman. But if estrogen levels remain high, the beautiful, shapely woman gets out of shape. I liken estrogen to fire and water. Good slave, bad master. The other hormone that's playing a role in the monthly cycle is progesterone. So mother's going to be in a green outfit, and mother is often given the name happy hormone. And we've got a saying in Australia, happy wife, happy life. Now, not every lady likes that saying, but it's true, isn't it? If mother's happy, the home is happy. And there are many unhappy homes because the lady is lacking her happy hormone, progesterone. And we'll look at why that is so as we go through this. So day 1 of the monthly cycle, day 1 is the day that she begins to menstruate. Progesterone levels are quite low. Day 1 of the monthly cycle, estrogen levels are also low. But by day 7, estrogen levels are rising. So by day 14, estrogen is playing the major role in this monthly cycle. Let's go over to the stage where this cycle is played out, which is the reproductive organs of a woman's body. This is the uterus, this is the cervix, this is the birth canal, these are the fallopian tubes. We've got a fallopian tube inside. These are the ovaries and they're connected by a ligament. So at this stage of the monthly cycle, estrogen, with its massive cell growth, cell proliferator, is causing these cells to multiply in the lining of the uterus. Because remember, the first week of this monthly cycle, the blood nest comes away. So in the second week, with the rise in estrogen, the blood nest is now building up again. What's also happening is estrogen is stimulating the ripening of certain eggs in the ovaries. And estrogen also causes a form of lubricant to be released in the birth canal. By day 14 or 15, a fully developed egg bursts forth from the ovaries. And the filaments on the end of the fallopian tube pull the egg up into the fallopian tube. And the fallopian tubes are ever moving like this, causing the egg to move up. Now that hole where the egg bursts forth, it develops a blister. And that blister is called corpus luteum. I'm writing it in green because corpus luteum is the main site of progesterone production in a woman's body. Now, can you see by this information I've just given you how important it is for a woman to release an egg every month? Because when she releases the egg every month, corpus luteum develops, which maintains progesterone, mother, happy hormone, very important part of the hormone balance. And so, by day 14 or 15, progesterone levels now are rising in the monthly cycle and estrogen levels are going down. You see, there's no need for estrogen anymore. We've got our blood nest, we've got our egg, we've got our lubricant, and so now estrogen basically levels drop right down. So what effect does this rise in progesterone have? Progesterone has a ripening effect on the lining of the uterus, putting the finishing touches on. Progesterone also heightens a woman's mood at this time of the month to the point of increasing her sexual desire at this time of the month. But progesterone has another effect, and that's on the cervix. Let me magnify this for you. The cervix looks like a little soft cushion with a hole in the middle. So we'll look at it from sideways to show you what effect progesterone has. Usually there's a mucus plug and the two soft sides, but under the effect of progesterone at this time of the month, the cushion comes up a little bit smaller, the mucus plug is released, and a special form of lubricant is released around the cervix. And this lubricant is designed specifically to facilitate the entry of sperm up into the uterus. And did you know that between 2 and 500 million sperm are released with one ejaculation? It's the smallest cell in the human body. and sometimes up to half come back out. And if the sperm meet this cervix, difficult to gain entry, but it's so small a few can get through. But if the sperm meet this cervix, this lubricant literally grabs it and shoots it up into the uterus, and it's got a long way to go, long journey. And some of them go down the wrong road. There's no road map here. And they basically die and get absorbed back into the system, but some head down the right road. Aha! They found their prize, which is the egg. I saw a photograph at a seminar one day of 15 sperm all trying to gain entry into one egg. And it's not easy to gain entry. The egg has folds covering it. And what the sperm has to do, it has to nudge its way, which is again not easy, into that fold. And finally, if it does get in, all the other folds shut tight and chemicals are released that would kill any other sperm trying to get in. Isn't it a miracle any of us are here? When you consider everything that has to be in place for the conception of a new human being. What happens when the sperm comes in? What happens to the hormones? There's a drastic change in hormones, and progesterone soars 200%. Don't we often say when a woman's pregnant, she's just blossoming? Her progesterone, her happy hormone levels are soaring. And it is progesterone that binds the molecules of the fetus to the lining of the uterus. That's why if a woman has multiple miscarriages, it's usually an indication that she's lacking the hormone progesterone. There's only one testosterone, but there are 3 estrogens. There's estrone, and estrone is given the name E1. Estradiol is given the name E2. So these are like three daughters that progesterone has. And estriol is the delicate estrogen. We might call estriol the youngest. Estrone and estradiol both have strong cell proliferator action, whereas estriol is a delicate estrogen. So we'll give these an asterisk showing strong cell proliferator action, but estriol is the more delicate estrogen. And in pregnancy, it's estriol levels that rise. What happens if there's no conception? If there's no conception, by day 26, estrogen levels drop right down, and by day 26, progesterone levels drop right down. And when both of these levels drop, the blood supply to the uterus is cut, and the blood nest comes away, and we are once again at day 1 of the monthly cycle. That's how the cycle should look. Unfortunately, today, many cycles don't look like that. But before I explain why, where's my why? Because at every step, this should be on our lips. Why are these things so? Yes. Before I explain why, I'd like to comment on sperm for a minute. Sperm is an alien for a woman's body, and every time sperm enters woman's body, her immune system rises to attack. But God, in His wisdom and mercy, He put an immune suppressant property into sperm as it goes through the prostate gland. That's one of the roles of the prostate, is when sperm passes through, it takes on an immune suppressant property. So when woman's immune system rises to attack, the immune suppressant property of sperm knocks it back and sperm survives. But woman's body has memory. Actually, our cells have memory. And every time a woman's husband enters, her immune system rises to attack and it says, oh, it's all right, his husband, we'll just stand back. And sperm goes through without any opposition. But can you imagine how dangerous this could be in a woman that has multiple partners? Every new partner, her immune system basically gets a beating, it gets knocked back. Also, imagine, just for a brief second, how damaging this can be in the area of anal sex, an area that should never have an immune suppressive property entering into it. So what causes the imbalance? Number one, 1957, does anyone remember what happened in 1957? The contraceptive pill was introduced to women. The 1960s is called the sexual revolution. Women wanted to be able to have sex without falling pregnant. But men and women are and will continue to pay a very high price for this so-called sexual freedom. What is the pill and what does it do? The pharmaceutical companies grow acres and acres of Mexican wild yam. This Mexican wild yam contains a plant chemical called diosgenin. And in a laboratory, diosgenin can be converted to progesterone. It's called progesterone because it has an identical molecular structure to our progesterone. And because of that, the pharmaceutical company cannot patent that. It can only patent something it creates or something new. So it adds a few more atoms to one area and comes up with a synthetic estrogen. It adds a few more atoms to another area and comes up with a synthetic progesterone. You see, up until the early 90s, the pill contained estrogen, and that's all. But that was producing so many problems, causing so many problems in women. They had to make some changes. So they now put a synthetic progesterone in. Has that helped? No, not at all. Now it blocks our progesterone receptor sites. And when these synthetic hormones are fed into this biochemical pathway that your body uses to make hormones, it causes a disruption. And the body says, what's going on? Must be pregnant. So because it thinks it's pregnant, it doesn't release the egg. And because it doesn't release the egg, the woman doesn't fall pregnant. But if the egg's not released, what's not being made, students? Corpus luteum isn't made. So what's happening to mother hormone? What's happening to happy hormone? What's happening to happy wife, happy life?
Depression.
Going down. See, our number one hormone should be progesterone and estrogen. But week after week, after month on the pill, what's happening? Progesterone levels are dropping, estrogen levels are rising. Good slave, bad master is now the master. Estrogen, with its cell proliferator action, is up here, causing massive cell growth in the uterus. There's fibroids, massive cell growth on the ovaries. There's cysts on the ovaries. There's polycystic ovarian syndrome. Endometrium is the name given to the lining of the uterus. Too much estrogen, too much endometrium, and it starts to wander all through the abdominal wall. That's called endometriosis. And then every month, when the levels drop and the blood nest bleeds, they bleed, but they've got nowhere to go. And that can cause excruciating pain in a young girl. A 25-year-old girl said to me, my doctor says that I'll be all right when I go through menopause. What's that, 25 more years of suffering? Or they'll go with a diathermy needle and they'll burn out the little pockets. Has that helped everything? If you don't turn the tap off, you will never have a cure. If you don't find the cause, you will never have a cure. Where's progesterone, by the way? Down here. No wonder the woman can't sleep. No wonder the woman is anxious. No wonder she's got depression. She's sadly lacking happy hormone. And the week before her periods, watch out, she'll bite your head off. And how does she feel? She hates it. She doesn't know what to do. One lady said, when my little 13-year-old got her period, she grew horns. I've got some good news. I'm going to show you how to bring back the balance. And the mother said to me, thanks, the horns have gone in. There is a way to bring your balance back. That is the good news. This high estrogen opposes thyroid function. How many women were on the pill for 5 years in their teens, 20s, and now they're in their 50s, 60s with thyroid problems? Estrogen, with its cell proliferator action, it's almost impossible to lose weight if estrogen levels are high. Yesterday we looked at weight loss, when we looked at diabetes and the importance of getting the carbohydrates down, yes. But here's another aspect of weight loss, is balance the hormones. And so, the lady was on the pill for 5 years, 7 years, in her teens and early 20s. Now she's going through menopause. What's happening? She's getting hot flushes. The husband knows because all the blankets get thrown off in the middle of the night. Then they get pulled back on again. One lady said, I'm a CEO of a company. I'm in a meeting and I get a hot flush. She said, I'm dripping perspiration. I'm feeling claustrophobic, and I can't leave. I'm chairing a board meeting. So she goes to the doctor. So he gives her something that helps. It's called hormone replacement therapy. What's this? More synthetic hormones. Why does it stop the flushes? Because now the body thinks it's pregnant again. So it puts all of its energies to the breast and uterus. You see, high estrogen causes capillary dilation, causing the blood to rush to the skin. She's happy, no more hot flushes. 6 years later, she feels a lump on her breast. She goes to the doctor, he tests it, you've got breast cancer. He takes her off hormone replacement therapy immediately. So you say to the doctor, why? He said, because it brought her relief. She was suffering, that's true. And not every woman will get breast cancer, that's true too. But you say to the woman, I'll give you a choice, breast cancer or hot flushes? What's the response? Hot flushes, thank you very much. I'll get a black lace fan, and I've seen a lot of black lace fans. But what you're hearing today will show you, hey, you might need a black lace fan for a couple of months, but after that you won't, because there is a way to bring the balance back. But some women have never been on the pill, never been on HRT, and they have symptoms of an obvious hormonal imbalance. Meat. What causes a chicken to be fully developed in 5 weeks? That's a bit scary. It's growth stimulants. So against the law in Australia to give growth stimulants now, so they've genetically modified the chickens to produce more estrogen so they grow quicker. A cattle farmer's wife said, we're not allowed to give growth stimulants, but she said the pharmaceutical company knocks on our door monthly, pushing the growth stimulants, saying, if you stop here, it's not picked up in the blood test at market. She said, we don't, but she said, many do. It might not be in the blood test, but where is it? It's in the tissues, which people are reading. If it's in the chicken, it's in the egg. If it's in the meat, it's in the products. So if people want to eat meat today, I say to them, it's really not negotiable today. It must be organic. It's actually too dangerous to do it any other way. But I know people who've been plant-based all their life, never on the pill, never on HRT, and they have hormonal imbalance. Chemicals. I challenge you ladies, go into a department store and try and find a bra that's made out of natural fibre.
Yes.
But if every single woman that's attending this meeting buys a cotton bra, guess what? They'll get the message. Because we, the consumer, have power. And don't forget booty. You can get some very nice bamboo bras, bamboo underwear, bamboo sportswear. And I'll tell you a funny story. I'm in Idaho and I saw it. And I thought, wow, this is fantastic. I bought a whole lot of stuff. I bought some stuff for Emma, stuff for the girls. $160 worth, went home. This is 2021. Taking the labels off, read the fine print, made in Australia. It's like taking tea to China. And that's how I know you can easily get this. So when the airlines lost my bags for 5 weeks in 2021, I had to go and buy some clothes just to keep me going. And I found it very difficult to buy a cotton bra. I found one out of about 500, but they are there. And the reason why I mention the underwear is because that's what's touching our skin. And when we get hot, this fabric heats up and our pores open and we start to take it in. It's like the dripping tap on a stone. 5 drops doesn't even put a mark on the stone. 50 drops doesn't even put a mark on the stone. I don't know exactly how many, but about 5,000 drops later we're getting a little dent. Is that right? The first cigarette doesn't give lung cancer. The one day you might wear a polyester bra is not going to have an effect, but it's this accumulation, this accumulating effect of many, many years. When I was a little girl of the 50s, 60s, everything I wore was cotton. Everything. But you go into those shops today, into the Targets, you have Costco or Walmart, you call it Walmart, something like that. I asked someone where it was one day and they said, we don't have that, it must be my A, don't say it properly. But you have a look at the clothes there. I was talking to a father today and he said, it's really hard to find natural fibre for a baby. He said, I've heard you lecture, I know. I'm not interested in fabrics that were created in a chemical laboratory.
That's right.
And they are contributing to the imbalance on the hormones, little by little, like the dripping tap on a stone. So get the chemicals out of your clothes, get them out of what you're washing your clothes with, out of your food, out of your shampoo, toothpaste. It's everywhere, it's everywhere, it's everywhere. Have you noticed? But I'm so impressed with America. You have Trader Joe's, Sprouts, Whole Foods. We don't have shops like that. I tell Australians and they go, really? You can go in there and you can buy anything organic, from toilet paper to soap to quinoa to apples, just everything. So be mindful of what's in your home, be mindful of what's in your laundry cupboard. So many people are poisoning themselves, even to the point of contributing to an imbalance in the hormones through these chemicals. Also, included in this is your herbicides, insecticides. Glyphosate is one of the worst.
Yes.
And glyphosate. If you're eating conventionally grown potatoes, you're eating glyphosate. Because they kill the potato plant with glyphosate so they can harvest the potato. It's very important to go organic to keep away from these. Plastics.
Yes.
I think it's almost impossible to get away from plastic, but you can certainly reduce your exposure on what your food is stored in. Yes, we have little plastic bottles here, but you know, it's not the odd day you drink out of a plastic bottle or the odd day you don't, it's what you drink out of the majority of the time. And you can get BPA-free plastic. I don't know if there are any bottles here, it's the hard plastic. That's probably one there, isn't it? Yeah, can I hold on to that? That's plastic, yeah. That's, maybe not. But it's usually got BPA, BPA free. Let me show you. Let me show you the different estrogens. And to understand this, estrogen has a phenyl ring in its molecular structure. And that phenyl ring opens the door to get the estrogen into the cell. And plastics have the phenyl ring. So bisphenol A is BPA. And there's the fennel. That's the key. And the other one is nonylphenol. And nonylphenol is in many. You know, when I was a teenager, my brother got his first car, and it was a second-hand car, Zephyr, I think, and the dashboard was cracked. Those from my era, remember when the dashboards were always cracked? They're not cracked anymore. That's because they've got nonylphenol in them to keep the plastic soft. Well, my brother, he fixed it, he just put turquoise fur and a cow with the head nodding up there. That's very 60s, isn't it? But have you noticed the dashboards don't crack anymore? That's because they got nonylphenol in them. So these phenols, they unlock the door to get into the estrogen receptors on the cell. So they're often what we call xenoestrogens. So those xenoestrogens, they're coming from chemicals, glyphosates, plastics. So yes, there are some safe plastics and they're BPA free, and that's because they're bisphenol free. I was talking to Dan about the Align. You know, the Visalign and the Align, different things you can put in your mouth now to change the teeth. They're BPA-free plastic. I was very pleased to hear that. So the BPA-free plastic, of course, it doesn't have the danger of the phenol. So let me show you the different estrogens. This is a xenoestrogen, and the xenoestrogens are 20,000 times stronger than the human estrogen. So how big's that? They're big. How big's the human? It just sits nicely into the receptor site, but it's 20,000 times stronger than plant. So how big's plant? Plant's just a tiny little slip of thing that just slips into the lining of the receptor site. Which one do we most need to fear? Is it the plant? Not at all. It's the xeno. And the plant estrogen, it works with the body. So Psalm 104 verse 14, the Bible says God gave herbs for the service of man. I love that verse. It's like, where would you like me? I'm here to serve you. So the natural estrogen comes to the door and knocks. It says, excuse me, do you need me? And the cell says, we certainly do not. It says, okay, well, I'll just sit at the door. And that means that plant estrogen is protecting that receptor site from the xeno. Because these xenoestrogens, they've got the phenol ring. They just said, get out of my way, I'm coming in whether you need me or not. And in that way, they can be rising the estrogen levels. And this is why you can have people with hormonal imbalance who've never been on the pill, eating plants. It's because of this section here. And the soybean grown in America today, it's called Roundup Ready. Why is it called Roundup Ready? Because it's been genetically modified to resist Roundup. And a farmer told me this. He said 5 times before harvest, the whole field is sprayed. That's 5 doses of Roundup in this soybean. He said all the weeds die and the soybean keeps growing. That's a bit scary, isn't it? So it's a pity to throw the soybean out. It's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I eat soy, but only organic. Because organic means it hasn't got all those doses of Roundup, and organic means it hasn't been genetically modified. I have a friend who did a thesis on soy for her nutrition course. And people say to her, tell us about the soy. She said, it's really easy. God made it good, man mucked it up, end of story. So how can we turn this around? And by the way, those xenoestrogens have strong cell proliferator action like the estrone and estradiol. So you read many articles that say if you've got prostate cancer, breast cancer, don't eat soy. You've seen those articles? Do you ever see an article that says if you've got breast cancer, prostate cancer, don't use chemicals? Have you ever heard that one? No, I haven't, unless it's in a health magazine. So how do we turn it around? Number one, eliminate. If you don't turn the tap off, you're still going to be mopping up in the other corner. Stop the pill. Stop HNT. Drugs never cure disease. Yes, in a crisis they might save a life, but they never cure disease. One thing and one thing alone cures disease, that's this body, when given the right conditions. So how are we going to stop having babies popping up everywhere? Well, sex is two parts, so contraception should be two parts. If I was real down south, I'd get an amen for that, wouldn't I? So what's the lady's part? Her body will give her 3 signs. One sign is that her temperature will change. And it's as simple as taking the temperature before you get out of bed every day. It'll drop and go up onto a higher plane when ovulation begins. And that drop and up onto a higher plane happens around day 14. So going into the 3rd week. This takes the guesswork out. My daughter Jessica, which is the next daughter down from Emma, she's in Tasmania. She showed me her phone. She said, "Mum, look, I've got an app on my phone. I put my temperature in every day and it says safe, not safe." So yeah, she can even get apps on your phone apparently today. The second sign is that the cervix changes. So when the lady is begun to ovulate, then the cervix changes. So when she gets into this 3rd week of high progesterone, the cervix is thinner, the mucus plug's gone, and the 3rd sign, 2nd sign is the cervix, 3rd sign is that the lubricant, the vaginal lubricant changes. So when a woman is in week 2, she will find that the lubricant is more white and thick. But when she goes into the 3rd week, in the ovulation stage, she'll find that the vaginal lubricant is very clear, very stringy, and much more profuse. Now, at first a woman has nothing to compare it to, but every day she tests these 3 signs. As the weeks and the months go by, she starts to see the pattern. And most women will find that they ovulate this week here. So using these 3 signs allows the woman to define exactly when she's ovulating. So she says to her husband this week, "I'm safe." She says to him around this week, "I'm unsafe," and here she's safe. So when she's not safe, the husband can either master the art of withdrawal or he can use a condom. And I was reading an article on Italian men, how traditionally they've prided themselves in not getting their women pregnant by mastering the art of withdrawal. And I thought, isn't that interesting? Because I know in Australia, the woman goes on the pill, or the woman has the IUD, or the woman gets her tubes tied. And I do know that some men are having vasectomies, and I do not advise that, because I don't believe in cutting tubes. And there's still not enough research around to see if there's a link between vasectomies and also prostate problems later on. But mastering these arts will allow a couple to even choose when they're going to have a baby without damaging their health by IUDs, the contraceptive pill, tubes tied, or vasectomies. I call this God's way of contraception. Is certain signs and ways that you can work with the body for that. My daughter Jessica, I think she was married to Matthew for nearly 4 years before their first baby came. How nice. They'd mastered the art. And they have 3 daughters, and they chose exactly when they were going to have the daughters. And the last daughter, Jessica, didn't want to have this next baby till their house had been built. Well, guess what? The house was finished a month before baby was born, and baby was born in the house in a blow-up bath. How nice. So that's how you can eliminate the pill, eliminate HRT, introducing the things that I will write down here. A woman does not need to go on hormone replacement therapy. Eliminate meat and its products. I think the cooks are showing us some very nice alternatives to meats. Again, if you do want to eat it, it must be organic. Myself, I choose plants. Get the chemicals out of your home, out of your life as much as possible. One lady said, I'm just about going to have to throw my whole wardrobe out. She said, my husband won't be happy. You'll have to buy me more. I said, well, there's a wonderful shop called the Thrift Store. And you can actually get some very nice clothes in there. And then little by little you can build up your wardrobe. And the plastics, just as much as possible, eliminate them and go organic. Number 2, the liver has the ability to detoxify us from environmental poisons, especially estrogen. And it'll take estrogen down one of 2 pathways. One pathway takes it out, the other pathway, it stays in. So what I'm going to do here is give you a list of foods that stimulate the pathway that takes the estrogen out. One is the cabbage family. The cabbage family contain a plant chemical called indoles. And indole stimulates the pathway that the liver uses to excrete excess estrogen. Vitamin B. 6, B9 and B12 are the 3 B vitamins that stimulate the pathway to get the estrogen out. Flaxseed, it's a great idea to grind up flaxseed and pour it on your fruit every morning. Flaxseed is high in a plant chemical called lignans. And lignans stimulate the pathway as well. Licorice, and I'm not talking about the candy licorice, I'm talking about the herb. If you've got high blood pressure, forget licorice, you can get it up. Number 3, every country that I visit, I find has a yam cream. Traditionally, we always use the anise, but it's very difficult to get now, and we found an American yam cream that's very comparable. It's called Comfort. And we thought we were being generous when we bought 60 jars, but apparently they've all been sold. But I think Emma shared her website with you. You can get it from there, or you can get it from the source, which is wfsoap.com. Very easy email to remember. WF is woodridgefarmsoap.com. So soap.com, you can get the comfort cream. And I really like this one because it's got a little push top. And what you do with this cream, it contains the plant chemical diosgenin from the wild yam. And when you apply that to your skin, the fat cells take it up and it stimulates this pathway that your body uses to make progesterone. So what this cream does is it stimulates your body to boost progesterone, mother hormone, and when mother is now reinstated, she very effectively brings the daughters and the sons back into control where they should be, whether you be man or woman. So the cream is applied twice a day. Inside of arms one time, chest another time, abdomen another time, inside of thighs another time. Alternate the sites of application for 3 weeks a month. And the 3 weeks that a woman applies the cream is the 3 weeks that she is not menstruating. If a woman is not menstruating anymore, she just chooses 1 week of the month where she doesn't apply. Some women choose to eliminate the first week of the month or the last week of the month. Then it's just easy to remember. 1 jar will last approximately 3 months, and ideally this yam cream should be used for about a year, at least a year. One lady said to me, I tried this cream and it didn't work. I said, how long did you try it for? She said, 2 months. We're just like Emma, we want to grow up in a minute, is that right? We don't grow up in a minute. And sometimes the hormones have been out for 20 years. Well, it's not going to take 20 years to get them back, but it could take at least a year. I said, 2 months. Now her imbalance was like many, too much estrogen, not enough progesterone. After 2 months of applying the cream, we're about like this. Where do we want to be? We want to be like this. Most women are finding some relief of symptoms within the first couple of months, but it may take a year to get the full balance back. When I was teaching in the Bronx, a lady brought her 9-year-old daughter to me who had already begun menstruation. So I advised that she go on the Yang cream.
Can we make it ourselves?
I guess you could try and get the recipe and make it yourself if you're industrious.
Is eating it,
When you eat it, you lose. Dr. John Lee, he wrote the book What Your Doctor May Not Tell You About Menopause, and he wrote that I think in about the late 80s or early 90s. He's the first doctor that blew the whistle on what I'm showing you here. And he showed that when you eat it, you can lose up to 400% of the actives by the liver. So the skin is the best way to take it up. The fat cells take it up.
What kind of yam is that?
Mexican wild yam
Thank you.
is what it's called. The lady Linda that makes the Comfort Yam Cream, she's a lovely lady, and she'll even share her recipe with you. And isn't that what it's all about? It's about sharing the good news of the body can be restored, and that's what God wants. He says in 3 John chapter 1 verse 2, he says, "Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers." And many people are not prospering because of what I'm talking about today, a hormone imbalance. In my next lecture, Osteoporosis, I'll be explaining how the Yang cream helps to build bones.